Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lauren's Take. Okay, so I've been trying to film this video because I finished the book that we are reviewing, which is, of course, Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I've been trying to film this video. I was going to film it last night. Today is Friday. I finished it Wednesday. I started reading it, I believe, last Thursday, so it took me almost a full week to read. But yeah, I've been trying to film this video, but life was happening yesterday, so I could not film it. But today, we were filming, we were talking, we were doing the thing. So I'm really excited to delve into this new world of Castellane, you know, a little different from very different from our Shadowhunter world. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and also give this video a big thumbs up, and let's get into it. Alright, so for those who were not in the know, Cassandra Clare put out a new book called Swordcatcher. This is actually the first book in the Swordcatcher series. It is Cassie's first adult fantasy series. It's really funny that that's the case because, like, Shadowhunters, like, there's some books that I'm like, girl, but they're technically young adult, so, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, so this is like completely different from Shadowhunters. No correlation, no connection to it at all. It's completely new world. It does not take place in present day. It takes place in a fantasy world situation. But I'm going to go into a quick summary situation. As I always do, I just read what the book cover is or the book jacket says, because y'all know I cannot give a summary. In the vibrant city-state of Castellane, the richest of nobles and the most debauched of criminals have one thing in common: the constant search for wealth, power, and the next hedonistic thrill. Or hedonistic. Anyway. Kell is an orphan, stolen from the life he knew to become the Swordcatcher, the body double of a royal heir, Prince Connor Aurelian. He has been raised alongside the prince, trained in every aspect of combat and statecraft. He and Connor are as close as brothers, but Kell knows that his destiny is to die for Connor. No other future is possible. Lancaster is one of the Ashkar, a small community whose members still possess magical abilities. By law, they must live behind walls within the city, but Lynn, a physician, ventures out to tend to the sick and dying of Castellane. Despite her skills, she cannot heal her best friend without access to forbidden knowledge. After a failed assassination attempt brings Lynn and Kell together, they are drawn into the web of the mysterious Ragpepper King, the criminal ruler of Castellane's underworld, who offers them each what they want most. But as the two descend into his world of intrigue and shadow, they discover a conspiracy of corruption that reaches from the darkest gutters of Castellane to the highest tower of its palaces. As long-kept secrets begin to unravel, they must ask themselves, is knowledge worth the price of betrayal? Can forbidden love bring down a kingdom? And will their discoveries plunge their nation into war and the world into chaos? So, that is the summary. I think it's a very good summary, but I will, as I go into this review, we're going to kind of talk about how there were parts that I felt I was lost a couple times in this novel, but we're going to go into it. 1 second. All right. So as I just said in the last clip, let me just go into it, right? So Swordcatcher, overall, I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was a really different thing. It was very different, very new. So this is like the first novel of Cassie Clare's that I've read that does venture out into this type of world, because she did have the Magisterium series with Holly Black, I want to say. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself on the subtitles. I never read that. I will say I didn't read that. I've only read Shadowhunters. Kind of going into this one, I didn't do a lot of research as I usually do. One, because I feel like I go into books a lot of times knowing everything that's going to happen, and I feel like I have a lot of just like knowledge going into it, and I'm like, it kind of takes away from the reading experience. Not necessarily, because like I went into, as y'all know, I went into Chain of Thorns that came out earlier this year with a ton of knowledge, as I had done multiple videos for it prior to me even reading the novel. But I feel like I was just, expecting everything to kind of happen the way that it happened, right? But yeah, I went into this reading this without much preparation, and yeah. So I'm gonna go into the characters that I really enjoyed and the overall story. I'm not gonna give a lot of summary. I'm not going to give a lot of like going, chapter by chapter or anything like that. I really want this to be a very like kind of straight to the point. I always do wait so long to say this, but spoilers, of course, I have to give spoilers, unfortunately, in order to give a good review, in my opinion, to say if I really enjoyed the book. But, yeah, we're just going to keep going and hope for the best. Okay, so there were a lot of different characters introduced in the first Swordcatcher, but I'm just going to focus on our main characters because there were a ton of other characters, and I'll kind of go into kind of like where do I think everyone's going to go in the next book, because I'll definitely be reading it. I like to know that I'll be reading it again, or reading the next book. But anyway, so Kel, Saren, whatever. Really Anjuman half the time, or Anjuman, when he is acting as the prince's cousin instead of just his sword catcher. I really loved Kel. Kel, he has my whole heart and soul. I'm kidding, not my soul, but he has my whole heart. I really liked his character. I thought he was really, really sweet. I just liked him. He was just so charismatic, so adorable. I just really liked him. But I feel it was hard to follow him at times. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but it was hard to follow him at times. There were times it was hard to follow Lynn at times, because I don't know if they're necessarily morally great characters, but they were reading as morally great characters, but I don't even think they're morally great characters. Like, well, in a way, the fact that they're both working with, the criminal king, if you will, the ragpicker king, I think that is one of the things that is kind of like, are they morally gray, or are they just they're willing to do whatever they need to in order to protect the people they love or care about the loves? Because their dreams essentially was Kel wanting to do anything and everything he could to protect Connor, because that is his goal. And I feel connected back to just my, analysis of Kel as a character, and why I really loved his character is how desperate he would be in order to make sure that Connor was taken care of, right? But as he continues to like bend over backwards, doing all this stuff, throughout the course of the novel, he and Connor start, not really having each other, like, they have each other's back, but they're not as strong as they used to be as friends, and as partners, essentially. And, being able to kind of see, like, Kel really trying to start making sense of his own life, because his life has only been Connor. And as they both are moving towards this point where Connor's going to eventually get married, Connor is going to eventually be king. Once he becomes king, Kel is no longer going to be his sword catcher. And so Kel is like, what do I do in that situation? Do I even want to do that? Do I want to stay in his room, live in his room, even though Connor's going to be putting up a hissy fit about it? So it was like one of those things that it was kind of like, we kept going back and forth, and I think that was just, his journey of his analysis, his development as a character. And so there were times where I was confused, and there were times where I was like, like, I'm not really getting this, this aspect of it. And I think it could have just, I don't know. I think there was a lot of gray area with Kel and his just kind of figuring out things, but I don't know if that was Cassie trying to, really leave a lot of room for the next story, because, she can do some stuff, right? And so I think that's kind of where I am with Kel, right? So overall, though, I really loved his character. I'm going to just take a little quick break before I go into Lynn. I am so confused about who was supposed to end up with who. Can I just say that? I will say that was probably the most frustrating thing I thought about that I was thinking about whilst I was reading this novel. I usually know who the person they're trying to be with is, right? Kel kissed like 3 different people, but his heart was longing for Antonetta. But then he was saying stuff about Lynn that once they kissed, it made you think that maybe he had something for Lynn. And I was assuming, since these 2 are the main characters, the MCs, they're the ones who are doing all this stuff in order to protect the ones they love, aka Kel for Connor, aka Lynn for Miriam. Like, your girl was confused. And the same thing with Lynn. Like, I'm like, do you like Kel or do you like Connor? Like, I'm very confused here, because then, you know, as the book progressed on, we are starting to see more Kel and Antonetta, and we're seeing more Lynn and Connor stuff. So that's why I was like, again, me going into this novel, like, I really had no idea how it was going to go, but I was assuming it was going to be Kel and Lynn. From, like, I knew that much. I knew that, you know, we have these 2 characters, but I was very confused. And I don't know. I will say that was very frustrating. I don't know if it's because Cassie is trying to leave it open for it to potentially be a love triangle situation. I really don't know. Because it really is a love triangle situation. But I think what's complicating it is the Antonetta thing, right? And the reason why I'm so confused is especially because there's one chapter in particular close to the end when Kel, I think this is when Louisa had just came and Connor acted a fool, kissed Lynn, that situation, right? And then it was the next day, and then Connor was asleep, had his bed curtains pulled around him. Kel wakes up. He sees a woman in Connor's bed. The woman is, at first glance, he thinks it's Lynn, because I guess she looks like her. Red hair, all that. And Kel, like, automatically was, like, tensed. And I was like, but then it was Scylla, or Sia, I think it's Scylla, that was Kel's first, you know. And he was like, okay. He wasn't hurt about it, but he's also like, why the heck would you be with the girl that you know I've been with, like, this whole time? You don't know if we've had anything with, you know, he didn't know. So I thought that was really messy and weird that Connor would do that. But Connor, I think, he has his own, we'll talk about Connor in a second. But I was so confused, y'all, because then Kel was literally just like, why am I so upset that would have been Lynn? So then I'm like, okay, so it is going to be a love triangle. But then he's still so hung up on Antonetta. Like, Antonetta, I can't. Yo, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know how to read Lynn, because I know, like, she also be thinking about Kel a lot. But it's not in the same way that Kel thinks about her. So I really don't know. Like, I can tell she's leaning more towards Connor. Like, Connor, the girl for him is Lynn, right? But he doesn't want to admit that. He doesn't want to deal with that fact. He could have had it, but he wants to blame her for it. Call her a disease. Call his wanting her a disease. And I'm like, okay, you're like every guy that we are, you know, Connor, you're getting on my nerve, right? Like, I liked Connor we'll get to him, okay? So that was one of my biggest issues with this novel. Like, I really enjoyed this novel, but that was one of the things that, like, of course, is like, this love story is one of the biggest parts of the story, and so I'm just like, where's the forbidden love? I'm very confused about the forbidden love. That's the thing I was talking about in the summary that I was confused about, because I didn't get that. I guess if Kel fell in love with Antonetta, like, he's not supposed to necessarily fall in love with anybody. Connor is not Ashkar and Malbusham, as they say, aren't necessarily supposed to, so non-Ashkari people are not supposed to fall in love. I guess that's what it is. I don't know. Or maybe just Kel being with anybody, because he's essentially not supposed to be with anybody. But I don't know. I got very confused by that description, because I'm like, I don't think anything has really promoted forbidden love. Now, if y'all disagree with me, please, like, put it in the comments, and then maybe we can just, like, noodle this, because I'm very confused. But that was something that really frustrated me throughout the novel. But anyway, all right, so going into Lynn after that little just like sidebar, because I was very confused about that. So Lynn, I like Lynn. I think she's great. I think she is definitely, she's a very, very calm, chill person, right? Like, pretty much has things going for her. But, you know, the fact that all the stuff she had to go through, like, poor thing, like, ugh, it's so annoying. I can't with the sexism, you know, it's just so, it's just unbearable. Anyway, but I think it was really interesting how, you know, she's really the best physician ever. And the fact that she was able to do that. But then I'm so confused because we have I think she is still technically the best physician ever, but then we have the magic stone situation. And that, you know, Petrov stone, but she ends up putting in a brooch. And then, you know, eventually at the end of the novel, she is the goddess reincarnate. And I was like, oh, jump scare. Like, I was very confused, but also like, oh, so is this what all these dreams were and everything going on? So that was interesting. I will also say that I didn't find her to be as confusing as Kel. I think she is definitely a really cool, chill person. I don't think she's morally gray. I think she's a genuinely good person. But I think she's in the same situation as Kel, where she would do anything in order to get anything that can help her save Miriam. And, you know, God bless her. I'm right with her because Miriam is such a sweet character. I love Miriam. Miriam's great. Love Miriam. But yeah, I think that was kind of, you know, she was willing to do whatever. And then as she's trying to heal Kel, as she's trying to heal Connor, like all of that, like, you know, those connections I think were really, really interesting and whatnot. So I really enjoyed Lynn. I think her character, I'm excited to see where her character goes in the next novel. And see where her connection is to Kel. I don't know, y'all. Because I seriously feel that, well, we know Kel is going to end up working with the Rag Picker King. I'm pretty, like, officially now. And I think Lynn, or work with him, yeah. And then Lynn, I think she's still working. I don't believe that she, like, stopped working with him. So they're fine. But, you know, I don't know. With her being the goddess reincarnate, I'm interested to see how this plays out. But I don't know if she's making it up or she's being honest about it. I got confused about that whole thing because we didn't come back to Lynn at the end of the novel. It ended with Kel's perspective. So, I don't know. Things to look forward to, I guess, to see kind of where Lynn falls within that. And so kind of moving forward, let's talk about Connor. Because Connor, I think, is very, 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 very important. I enjoyed Connor's character until, like, probably 3/4 in. I think he was just doing really dumb stuff, and he was really infuriating me. But at the same time, I get why, I guess, because of all this stuff going on with his dad. The fact that his dad had him with, that made your girl cry. I did cry in this novel, because it was just like, he was trying to do something good, trying to fix something, but he was hiding a lot. Like, it was just very, 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 very secretive. And I think this is one of the things that, you know, connection to Kel and how he's trying to really figure out where he fits in this story. Like, he knows Connor and, he and Connor have a really great relationship. But at the same time, Connor was keeping a lot from him. And he was, you know, trying to answer for it. And he couldn't answer for it because Connor wasn't telling him anything. So I get Connor's frustration with Marcus, and I get his frustration with everybody else, like Jolivet and all of them. But I don't get why he wasn't telling Kel. I really don't. I don't know what Kel did wrong, because Kel didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. So I was very, like, if, you know, Kel is doing all of this for Connor. And I wonder if that's to show that Connor is still, like, a selfish prince, right? Like, he loves Kel. I know he loves Kel, but his actions are saying otherwise. And then his relationship to Lynn, it was like really cute scenes, and they were really like, you know, just perfect love story moments, right? But then it was also just like, what? Like this, like him, you know, wanting her, needing her, desiring her, all that. It was all consuming. But their last interaction, I don't know, he would, like, hear what she said, but then didn't hear what she said, and then kick her out, and then still come right back, and then wasn't caring about all the crazy crap he was putting her through. Like, it was going back and forth for me, and I was very confused. I guess, again, we're having all this drama because it's going to get unraveled in the next novel, but I feel it was just confusing. And I think it was getting to a point where, like, I was trying to finish the book hoping that we would get some conclusion, but it was a lot of, like, unopened, a lot of open-ended stuff, right? I will say this is probably the most open-ended Cassie Clare novel I've read so far. And I've read all of those, novels, right? So I think it's just one of those things that I'm kind of like, I don't know how to feel about it. It's very confusing. But I still like Connor. Even though I say, like, all of that shade. Like, I still really like Connor. But yeah. Okay, real quickly, I'm going to go over the side characters that I really enjoyed and then just talk about overall things that I thought really worked well in the novel and kind of talk about, what could have been better and then my overall rating. But anyway, side characters, love Ragpicker King. Really love that guy. I think he's going to be an interesting character because I could tell he's not the villain, right? But I think he is definitely going to add that kind of, like, he's still mysterious. I really want to see what his connection is to Marin. That whole thing. Oh, I love Marin too. Marin was great. Gian, love her. Great. I love, like, all of those characters and whatnot. Oh, one thing I did want to say. I love how Cassie made literally Connor and Kel, at least, canonically bi. She just did it. And it was like, that's how easy it is to make it in novels. I think I'm really so excited to see all of this representation in all different ways. They were also both men of color, which I thought was really awesome and really cool. Like, I think about, like, the Shadowhunters novels have been, like, getting better and better and better. In terms of diversity, but I think what was really great about Swordcatcher is that there were many characters of color, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved that our main character was a man of color, so I thought that was really, really cool. So I think that was kind of cool that those characters were that. I will say, though, we need some more black characters, please. We need some more Latina characters. That would be great. We had some more Asian characters, which I thought was really cool. And again, I think Kel and Connor both are part Asian, at least. So I think South Asian. So I think that's really cool. Or part Middle Eastern. I don't know. Something around there. So I thought that was really cool. But back to the side characters in my little comments. I really enjoyed... I really like Lilibet. God bless her soul. Her quote, it was when Lynn had healed Connor, or was right about to heal Connor. I can't remember, like, where it was. I think it was after she healed him. And she was like, if you ever have children, make sure to have more than one. And that's something that, like, my mom has said, like, why she purposely had my sister and I. Like, it's a purpose behind it. And I think it was just so tough. I love how I'm not a mom, but, like, I have the mom nature in me, right? And I think when Lilibet said that was just like, oof. Because, technically Connor is her only child, right? And the only reason he has a sword catcher is because he is an only child. And because they don't have someone else that can lead in his stead. And so being able to protect him so he would have another chance at life is essentially second chance at life, or second life, which most people don't have. But it's sad that it's at the expense of another person. But I think that line, I think someone highlighted it, or Cassie highlighted it, I want to say, on Goodreads. And I was like, oh, this quote right here. Because I happened to go on Goodreads and was looking ahead to see how people were feeling. And no one had really given a review yet. And that was Monday. So I think we're all taking a little while to, like, soak it in. But anyway, I really like Lilibet. Marcus, at first I felt sorry for him. I was originally comparing it to, like, Queen Charlotte vibes. I was like, he's like Farmer George, like, I was really thinking he was Farmer George, but no, he is not Farmer George. He is worse. He is horrible. Farmer George is not bad, right? Like, he has his moments, but again, that's because of what he was going through, right? And I was trying to give sympathy, especially, like, all the talk of the stars, But Marcus is just, like, I was trying to, like, I'm like, he may be struggling from, you know, mental health issues, mental health struggles, whatever he may, and in the end, he's just a jerk. I don't even think that's connected to it. But then Connor said he potentially has the same, he may have the same situation. And so I think it was like, oh no, like, what's happening, you know? But I feel like that could have been evolved more, because I did get very confused by that. I'm like, we're having this, but then he's acting this way and saying that he's not listening to the stars anymore. And then he had Faustin killed and all that. And I was like, I don't know. I think he's just a really twisted person. And I think those are like the little secrets underneath, you know. Yeah, that whole thing was very, very confusing. But I don't know if that's like an actual, like, is he really struggling with something? Is this something Connor's going to really struggle with? Because he was trying to put his feelings for Lynn, the all-consuming feelings he had for Lynn, as that. So I really don't know how to feel about that. I really don't know. But yeah, Marcus can go to heck. Let me see. Who else? Joseph. He was interesting. Not, I'm right. No, Joseph was, I'm confusing characters. Jared or Gerard, who was Prosper Beck's, you know, right-hand man. He was interesting. I don't know what to think of him. But I think he may potentially be working with the Ragpicker King, and I thought that was really funny. So I'm like, he's going to be staying in this situation. Let's talk about the people on the hill. I really liked Mount Falcone. Was it? No. That's not who I'm talking about. Joss. Where is it? No, it's Falconet, who I really like. I love him. But I don't know, he may be the one who we need to look out for, because he wanted to talk to Connor. And you know, when Kel was being Swordcatcher, and Kel, wasn't it Falconet he was talking to? Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Falconet. And I was like, what are you talking, like, that thing, I want to know. What were you going to say to Connor? I was really intrigued by that. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. But I like Falconet, but I think he could potentially be the one that they need to worry about on the hill. Because he's always around. And he has strong connections with Kel and Connor. And I think it's really interesting, that whole situation. I enjoyed Antonetta. She also was very confusing. I don't know, because they were like, she knows what she wants, but then she doesn't know what she wants. And then she was doing fake stuff, and then she wasn't doing fake stuff, and then I was very confused. So Antonetta's, I think her character needs to be developed a little bit more. I was just very confused half the time, but that was just me personally. I just got confused. I still like her, I was just confused a lot, and so I think that's one of the things that I'm intrigued to see what happens in the second novel, which is called The Ragpicker King. I don't know why I wasn't like saying the name. I have forgotten it until just now, but The Ragpicker King. So I'm really excited to see. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a trilogy. It may be a duology, but I'm pretty sure it's a trilogy. So I'm excited, but yeah, I think I love Miriam, and Chana. She was great. Mayesh, I like Mayesh. I like him. I think he would be eventually one to like step down and, you know, fix that. I do wonder if Lynn, she did say that she probably wouldn't do it, but I don't know if that's going to stay the case within the rest of the series. But now she's the goddess reincarnate. So I really don't know what's going to happen with her taking the counselor position. But I really enjoyed Mayesh. And just, yeah, the overall thing, you know, relationships and characters and whatnot. It was very fun, very energetic and whatnot. And I was expecting, I don't know, some more scandal, just simply because some of the adult fantasy, they just go there, right? But Cassie was very like, it may get more scandalous as the series progresses, but I feel it wasn't over the top raunchy or anything like that, so that was fine. But yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna, you know, quickly sum up the rest of my thoughts. Overall, I really enjoyed this novel. I thought it was really good. I thought there was a lot of stuff going on. I feel there was, the first 200 pages or so was world building. And I've seen some people who have been reviewing, like, they enjoyed it, but it took a while for it to get somewhere. and I really didn't really start enjoying it until like page 250 on, right? Or almost page 300 on, before I really was getting into it. And again, this is the first novel in the series. This is, you know, Cassie's first attempt at an adult fantasy series, you know, so, you know, I'm cutting her slack because of it, but it was slow for me, and there were a lot of moments within the novel that I was kind of just, I was like, can we hurry up and get through this? I skimmed some of it. I don't skim Cassie Clare novels, y'all, but it was a lot of just stuff that, you know, it's important for the story, but like, I didn't want to necessarily read it, but even though I had that issue, and I will say let me see if I can just happen to come across one situation of it. Like these little vignettes of the story, I feel like they took away from the story, to be honest, just simply because like you really didn't know it until afterwards. It would have made more sense to me to have that like in the Rag Picker King or the third novel or whatever. Like I think about like all of these loving novels and how they would have the pictures and stuff, and illustrations and whatnot. I think it makes more sense to have them later in the series before you have it in the first one, because it was taken away, and I got to the point I wasn't even reading them until like later on, where it actually connected to the points that we actually understood. I think it took away. I don't know if that's just for this first edition or if it's in every version of Swordcatcher, but that was something that I didn't really like. But overall, I'm going to give this book 4 stars exactly. I already put 4 stars on Goodreads, and you may have already looked at to see how I felt about it. But it was mainly because of the world building, because of those vignettes that I felt took away from the novel. Some other people may feel differently. They just took away from it for me because, one, I just didn't understand it and I was very confused. I also just felt confused a lot of the time in the story. I feel like there were certain things that I was anticipating, expecting, and it wasn't necessarily dealt with in the way that I thought it was going to be dealt with. I don't know who's falling in love with who. I know there's something with Lynn and Connor. I think there's something with Kel and Antonetta, but then there's also stuff with Lynn and Kel, and I thought that would make sense since they're the main characters. So, I don't know. I feel very confused about that. But even with those little hang-ups, I still gave it 4 stars because I overall enjoyed it very much. I still was, you know, having moments where I was reading late at night and just like, ooh, you know, what's going on? I really did enjoy the characters. I really enjoyed the world of Castellane. I enjoyed the Rag Picker King, and I'm excited to see more of him in the next book. And I found myself wanting to see what's going to happen with these characters. And so I think thinking about all of those things, again, this is the first one, right? This is the first one. Cassie was getting her footing with this new series, new story, everything, right? So that's why I'm giving 4 stars. I don't think it was enough for me to give it less than 4, because I still very much enjoyed it. I still am definitely going to be reading the second book. I probably will, once I can pre-order, I'm probably going to pre-order it because I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. It ended on a cliffhanger in a way, but I'm pretty excited about it, but yeah. Alright, y'all, so thank you for bearing with me. This is a little shorter than my Chalice of the Gods interview, and I'm going to try to cut it down a little bit more for things that I'm just talking about. But anyway, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't give it a thumbs down. That's just rude. Also, subscribe to this channel if you are not subscribed already, and I shall see y'all in the next one. It is mid-October at this point. It's October 20th when I'm filming this, so, you know, get hyped. I'm planning a lot of fun videos for December, a lot of like countdowns for like my favorite books that I've read in 2023, my favorite books of 2023. I've read a lot of like actually 2023 novels this year, so I'm excited to kind of force myself to pick like my top 5. And also just doing some fun things. So stay tuned, and we're at 80 subscribers, y'all. That's so awesome. So thank you to those who have been subscribing lately. Thank you for all the love you've given my, Percy Jackson and the Olympians teaser trailer 2 reaction. I did see some clips from New York Comic Con. I'm so excited for that, y'all. It's going to be so good. Stay tuned for all of those review episodes. We're going to be doing that, for the entire season. I'm so excited for that show. But again, Swordcatcher was great. But again, I hope y'all have a great rest of your October. Happy early Halloween. Happy early Thanksgiving. Happy early Christmas. happy early Christmas, Merry early Christmas, or yeah. But anyway, I'll see y'all in the next one. All right, bye.